Welcome to Standard 7 Geography, Unit 2 Landforms. Learning objectives of this lesson is we are going to see different landforms created by river, by glacial action, by wind action and by sea wave. Introduction. What is landforms? The surface of the earth is not the same everywhere. The earth has an infinite variety of landforms named mountain, plateaus, plains, valley, etc. These landforms are a result of two processes, that is endogenic process, which is internal process of the earth. Next is exogenic process, which is external process of the earth. Gradation. It is the process of leveling of high lands through erosion and filling up low lands through deposition. Landforms. How landforms are formed? The landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, that is weathering and erosion. Weathering is breaking and falling apart into small pieces of the rocks on the earth's surface. Erosion is the wearing away of landscape by different agents like water, wind, ice and sea waves. The eroded material is carried away by water, wind, etc. and eventually deposited. The process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth. What it is? Yes, it is river. The water flowing from its source to river mouth along a definite course is called a river. River generally originate, that is starts from a mountain or hill. The place of origin of the river is called its source. The place where it joins a lake or sea or an ocean is known as the river mouth. In this picture, we can see river system and its resultant landforms like river source, waterfall, tributary, meanders, oxbow lake, delta, etc. Let's see these river landforms one by one. V-shaped valley. This is the V-shaped valley. The running water in the river erodes the landscape, which enters a steep-sided valley like the letter V, known as V-shaped valley. What it is? A lovely waterfall. Falling of river water over a vertical step in the riverbed is called waterfall. It is formed when soft rocks are removed by erosion. Example for waterfalls in Tamil Nadu is Kutrala Falls across the river Chittar. The highest waterfall is Angel Falls of Venezuela in South America. Next is Niagara Falls, located on the border between Canada and USA in North America. Next is waterfall retreats upstream. Here it is the plunge pool is a hollow feature at the base of waterfall which is formed by cavitation. An alluvial fan is a deposition of sediment occurs at which the river enters a plain or the foothills. Meanders. This is a meander, the twist and turn of a river. As the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Example: meanders along the river Vellar near Sethiyathop in Kadalur district, Tamil Nadu. Next is the formation of Oxbow Lake. Due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, the ends of the meander loops comes closer and closer. In due course of time, the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, also called Oxbow Lake. sediments, floodplains and levees. At the times the river overflow its banks, this leads to the flooding of the neighboring areas. As the river floods, it deposits layer of fine soil and other material called sediments along its banks. This leads to the formation of a flat, fertile floodplain. The raised banks are called levees. We are going to see about tributary and distributary. Tributary, a stream or river that flows into and joins the main river. This is a tributary. Distributary, as the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases and the river begins to break up into number of streams called distributaries. This is a distributary. Next we are going to see about delta. The velocity of river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load. Each distributary forms its own mouth. The collection of sediments from all the mouths form delta. Delta are excellent productive lands. They have more minerals which favor cultivation. Example, Kaveri Delta, Ganges Delta and Mississippi Delta. Next is glaciers. A large body of ice moving slowly down a slope or valley due to gravity is called a glacier. Glaciers are grouped into two, mountain or valley glaciers and continental glaciers. We are going to see kinds of glaciers, that is continental glacier, mountain or valley glacier. Continental glacier, the glacier covering vast areas of a continent with thick ice sheets. Example, Antarctica, Greenland. Mountain or valley glacier is a stream of ice flowing along a valley. It is usually forms river courses and are bounded by steep sides. Example, Himalayas and Alps. This is an example of mountain or valley glacier. Next we are going to see formation of cirque. This is the formation of cirque. Glaciers erode the landscape by leveling soil and stones to expose the solid rock below. Cirque is a glacially eroded rock basin with a steep side wall and steep head wall surrounding an armchair shaped depression. Example, Corrie, Scotland, United Kingdom, Car, Germany. Next we are going to see about arêtes. As the ice melts, they get filled up the cirque with water and become beautiful lakes and mountains called as Tarn Lake. When two adjacent circuits erode towards each other, the previously rounded shaped landscape is transformed into a narrow rocky steep sided ridge called arêtes. This is an arête. Next we are going to see U-shaped valley. This is the U-shaped valley. U-shaped valley is found beneath the glaciers, which is deepened and widened by the lateral and vertical erosion. The material carried by glaciers such as rocks, big and small, sand and silt get deposited. These deposits form glacial moraines. Next we are going to see about wind. An active agent of erosion and deposition in the desert is wind. In deserts, we can see rocks in the shape of mushroom, commonly called as mushroom rocks. Winds erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrower base and wider top. We are going to see Enselberg, an isolated residual hills standing like a pillar with rounded tops are called Inselbergs. Example, Inselberg in Kalahari Desert of South Africa. Next is sand dunes. When the wind blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. When it stops blowing, the sand falls and gets deposited in low hills called sand dunes. The crescent-shaped sand dunes are called barchans. This is a barchan. Next is loess. When the grains of sand are very fine and light, the wind carry it over very long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. Large deposits of loess are found in China. This is a type of loess. Next, we are going to see about coast. A part of land adjoining or near the sea is called the sea coast. The boundary of a coast where land meets water is called the coastal line. The coastal areas are subject to change due to wave erosion and wave deposition. The erosion and deposition of sea waves give rise to coastal landforms. Sea cliffs. Sea cliffs are steep rock faces formed when the sea waves dash against them. These are the formation of sea cliffs. Next is sea caves. Sea waves continuously strike at the rocks. Rocks cracks develop. Over time they become larger and wider. Thus hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. Next is sea arches and stacks. As the cavities of sea caves become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the cave remains, thus forming sea arches. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These wall-like structures are called stacks. Beaches and sandbar. The sea waves deposit sediment of sand and gravel along the shores forming beaches. Sandbar is elongated deposition of sand or mud found in the sea almost parallel to the coast. Next is lagoon. Lagoon is a shallow stretch of water partially or completely separated from the sea. Example, Chilka Lake in Odisha, Pulicat Lake in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh and Vembanad Lake in Kerala are the famous lagoons in India. Let's wrap up our lesson with what we learned. The landscape is being continuously worn away by weathering and erosion. River, glacier, wind and sea waves are the major agents of exogenic forces. From its source to its mouth, the river is constantly reshaping the land and giving rise to different landforms. The river begins to break up into a number of streams called distributaries. Deltas are excellent productive lands which have more minerals. Glacier is a large body of ice moving slowly down a slope due to gravity. Moraines are glacial depositions. Wind is the active agent of erosion and deposition in deserts. The sea waves deposit sediments of sand and gravel along the shores forming beaches. I hope you are clear with the lesson landform. Please go through book back questions which will be displayed on the screen. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra, be that extra. Thank you.